Listen very carefully and follow my instructions. Prepare your brain for the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast.
I gotta tell you, being an entrepreneur, I will not go through the rest of my career without taking nootropics. Aniracetam, paracetam, modafinil, Nupec, uridyl monophosphate. I mean, phenylparacetam, forget it. You can always have a better brain.
The Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast is about to begin.
Episode number 55 of the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast. I am your host, Ryan Michael Ballard. Check us on the web at livecortex.com, at livecortex.com/blog, Facebook at facebook.com/cortexstacks. And for those of you that like me and just like the content I put out a lot of great content at facebook.com/Ryan Michael Ballo, just how it sounds, Ballow. Okay, welcome to the podcast. So look, we're going to talk about Ray Kurzweil. He's a futurist. He basically was a futurist known for his idea about the singularity and essentially trying to transfer consciousness into computers. So he thinks there's eventually going to be this event where you can sort of stay alive forever by uploading your consciousness, so like all of your memories and all the stuff in your brain into a computer. And then, therefore that's how you stay alive. And that's like this thing called the singularity or something. And where humans essentially mesh with machines, and our consciousness are essentially in the ether, in the internet, which is, look, it's not, it is from the standpoint of our traditional society, from where we are now, it seems very far-fetched and crazy. But for some people, look, they're moving fast in their brain. They're moving quicker than everybody else. And maybe Kurzweil is somewhat right. Maybe he's completely right. Maybe he's totally wrong about that. But Kurzweil is a futurist, so he thinks about the future and how humans are going to interact with the future, and kind of is in line with trying to be as evolved as possible in line with that future. The guy's an inventor. He's built many companies. He's an entrepreneur. Now I think he works in some senior level position with Google as like a head of engineering or something significant, which makes sense. Smart guy, right? He should be at a company that's innovating substantially. And so the thing about Ray Kurzweil is that he is he's old. He's like, I think, he's got to be 60 something at this point. Let me see if I can Google his age. Yeah, he's 69 years old right now. And the guy looks like he's probably mid 40. He looks very young for being 69. The thing is that Ray Kurzweil is also a massive supplement. He's like a proponent of taking supplements, just dietary supplements to target different things. He says in the past he's had issues with heart disease, genetic issues with heart disease, where he's essentially been able to stave off what seemed like, based on what happened to his dad, certain death from heart attacks or heart disease. Now the guy's is nearly 70 years old and everything's good. So, but the thing about it is that he takes in his supplement regimen lots of great supplements. I mean, there's like 100 to 200 supplements depending on which source you read and depending on, I guess, what year it is, maybe change the supplement regimen. But the most interesting part as it relates to us and what we're interested here at the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast is that some of these compounds are nootropics. In fact, a lot of them are nootropics. So I want to talk about the breakdown of his nootropic stack, just to give folks an idea of, like, here's a futurist, who works for Google, been around for a while, survived like what was like sort of a death, he was having the genetic deficiencies for heart function and having like your dad die of heart disease very early on, and then you essentially having markers for heart disease, and then basically living through it and reversing it. That is substantial. This is and this guy is well regarded as a visionary and a super smart guy in our society. So we're going to talk about his nootropic stack. Let's do a minute and a half of product pro right now. Okay, right now, if you're listening to this, it is January 9th or 10th. Yeah, it's the 9th of January 2018. Everything on the Cortex Labs website is 20% off. That's the Cortex nootropic stack. Look, our customers' words, not ours. Most powerful pre-made stack there is. Like, that was the chief complaint. All the other nootropic products that were out there weren't strong enough. They didn't really induce significant brain function. They were noticeable to some extent, but it wasn't like modafinil. We tried to create a natural version of modafinil with Cortex. We have struck gold. This supplement is king. It is an expert high-level nootropic. It's called Cortex. Get it at livecortex.com. 20% off right now at $27. We've got 5 digital guides. I'll break them down really quick, and then we'll get into the podcast. Number 1, the nootropic stacks for the business professional. It's 100 stacks, just listed out. right, for business productivity. Very powerful. Number 2, the Beginner's Guide to Aniracetam. This teaches you everything about aniracetam. Digital downloadable guide, 25 aniracetam stacks. Get it at livecortex.com. That's 20% off too. The Smarter, Better, Faster digital guide. That is a guide that if you're new to nootropics, it teaches you everything and gives you stacks. Then there's the Nootropics Starter Pack. I want to quick mention that. That is a bottle of Cortex and Smarter, Better, Faster, which is the guide that teaches you everything on nootropics. It's digital and downloadable, and then Cortex is our powerful nootropic stack. It's called the Nootropics Starter Pack. And then we've got the Racetam God Guide. The Racetam God Guide is 80 plus Racetam stacks in a digital guide. Lastly, the Noopept Pro Stack List. That is a bunch of Noopept stacks. Teach you how to nasally, sublingually, and orally take Noopept. We've got 2 consulting services. Number 1, we have a consulting service on nootropics. It's a 40-minute call with me, 15 additional email correspondence. It's very fun. We're doing a lot of those every day, Skype calls. And then the other one is a chronic fatigue syndrome consulting. I had CFS years ago. I figured out how to beat it. I understand what's at the root of it for some folks, and I think I can help a lot of people. We've got a consulting service for that. Get all that stuff at livecortex.com. Remember, 20% off all of our digital guides as well as the Cortex stack and the Nootropic Starter Pack, livecortex.com. Okay. So you got the preface. That's the intro. Let's get right into Ray Kurzweil's stack. Number 1, he takes acetyl L-carnitine. Acetyl L-carnitine. Alcar, as it's affectionately known, is an energy-producing nootropic compound. Effectively, what it does is it crosses over into the brain, allows mitochondria to use fat as fuel. Pretty interesting stuff. It's acetyl coenzyme A is an enzyme from acetyl L-carnitine that, through the process of metabolism, gets donated to the process of the production of a focused neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. So it's mildly cholinergic, turns on focused mental energy, speed of processing, but mostly energy-inducing, turning on mental energy, acetyl L-carnitine. It's also been demonstrated that it does a whole bunch of interesting, great things, like it prevents oxidative damage to neurons from alcohol use in acute situations, that over time chronically increases the expression of nerve growth factor in the brain, and stacked well with very many other cholinergic, stacks well with racetams particularly. Okay, so that's Alcar. Then he's got EPA and DHA, which are the 2 fatty acids in fish oil. This makes a whole lot of sense. Your brain is comprised of a lot of DHA. Docosahexaenoic acid is the nomenclature for DHA. It's very necessary. It's a fatty substance that your brain uses to send signals. It's a big part of the functionality of your brain. In fact, it's been demonstrated that if you take DHA and you take a choline source, so be it alpha GPC, choline bitartrate, or CDP choline, and you combine that with uridine monophosphate, a super nootropic that's the main primary nootropic compound in the Cortex stack, then you're able to upregulate neurogenesis and engage in cellular repair and even create new neurons. It is a powerful, necessary compound for your brain. So he takes EPA and DHA, so he takes a fish oil supplement. The other thing that he takes, according to a FUTURIST.com post on Ray Kurzweil's nootropic stack, is Gaba. Now, there's some debate about Gaba, about whether or not it can actually cross into the brain over the blood-brain barrier and actually affect brain function based on its chemical structure, that you need one of the B vitamins. I think it's niacin. I forget which one it is. It's one of the B vitamins that you need in order for it to cross, and that has to sort of be chemically synthesized in a very particular way, as opposed to just sort of put the B vitamin with the GABA together, and that's the only way you can get GABA across the blood-brain barrier. There's a nootropic product, there's a nootropic compound that does that. It's called Picamillan. Hard to get, but the stuff works. I've taken it in the past. But maybe Kurzweil's taken some sort of modified version of GABA. Nobody really knows. The other compound is ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo biloba, as I believe, it's an herb, but it's a set of alkaloids, lots of alkaloids in it. I remember studying it some time ago, reading that it has the capacity to stave off beta amyloid plaques, which are the plaques that build up in your brain when you have Alzheimer's. Pretty substantial. And then it also either increased the release of or somehow modified the release of dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. That's ginkgo biloba. I think there was also some degree of cholinergic modification, whether a release of acetylcholine, or somehow faster usage of acetylcholine, potentially with chronic use on ginkgo biloba. You might have to go and research that, but I remember reading about it quite some time ago. Actually, I take ginkgo every now and then. I have ginkgo. I take ginkgo. It does make me feel noticeably better and clearer. It's a great herb. The other nootropic that he takes is L-Theanine. L-Theanine. L-Theanine is an amino acid that increases brain serotonin and Gaba primarily. It's been shown to induce alpha brain waves in the brain, which is associated with a good calm mental state. So he takes L-Theanine. L-Theanine is the great balancer. It's a great nootropic compound to take with many cholinergic compounds as a balancer. Like if you take 250 milligrams phenylpiracetam and 70 milligrams CDB choline, and you're amped up and you're a little too amped up, and you have a big giant cup of coffee and you're just like way too amped up, well then 200 to 400 milligrams of L-Theanine actually works synergistically with those compounds, but works to calm down the potential anxiety that might result from such a stack. Okay, L-Theanine. The next nootropic that he takes is Vinpocetine. Vinpocetine. Vinpocetine is a compound that improves blood flow and oxygen in the brain. It is stackable with all racetams, as far as I can tell, as far as I've experienced. And one of the best ways to use Vinpocetine as a nootropic is in 5 to 15 milligram quantities in conjunction with many other stacks, sort of as a synergistic additional component to the stack. So you might do something like 100 milligrams of triacetyluridine, a choline source, let's go with 100 milligrams of alpha GPC, a B complex, 300 milligrams of Alcar, and then 10 milligrams of Vinpocetine. Right there, that'd be a pretty powerful stack for virtually everything. Okay, and then there's some things that are questionable about, whether or not they're nootropics. There's melatonin, phosphatidylcholine. Well, that's certainly a nootropic I would consider, and then phosphatidylserine and SAM-E. But the primary nootropics, as we think of them, Alcar, EPA, theanine, and Vinpocetine, is part of what he takes in his stack. All right, so that's what we got right now for what Ray Kurzweil takes in his stack. I've been kind of looking at this for quite some time because, when I first came into it and got interested in it, I remember reading an article about 200 or 300 supplements that he takes, and I looked at it and recognized, wow, Alcar is one of them, Vinpocetine is one of them. These are legit nootropics. And 2 or 3 years back, one of the articles on Ray Kurzweil's supplement regimen included alpha-glycerolphosphorylcholine, which is alpha GPC. So I'm not sure if he's taken that now or if this person who wrote this article just missed it, but there is some other reports which come directly from one of Ray Kurzweil's books that says that he takes alpha GPC as well. Okay, so maybe you have to do your research, figure it out. Maybe he stopped taking it, maybe this person missed it, who knows. But all these are significant nootropics. That's Ray Kurzweil's stack. And again, this is coming from a guy who wants to live long enough, keep his brain functioning good enough, and keep everything operating the way that it needs to be, and also sort of cheated death a bit with essentially getting over heart disease with supplements. This is a guy that's into taking supplements to improve brain performance. He wants to outlive to the point where he can download his brain into a computer and have that be his living forever with his brain and all his information in a computer. It's called the Singularity. Check him out, Ray Kurzweil. Pretty interesting guy, pretty cool guy, head of engineering or something at Google at this point. Takes nootropics. Hope that's been useful. Hope that's been helpful. Hope that's been more validation, because I think that's what we look for. There's him. There's the guy who has one of the highest IQs right now, guy that's alive that has a super IQ. His name is Rick Rossner. IQ of 194. Takes paracetam and a few other nootropic compounds. I think centrophenoxine and or DMA is one of them. But this is validation for folks looking at people that are older, people that have been around for a while, that are taking nootropics for brain longevity and brain performance. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for being with me on episode number 55 of the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast. Check us out on the web at livecortex.com, at livecortex.com/blog, facebook.com/Cortex Stacks. If you want to just check me out, I got a lot of content I put out about everything, life, fitness, entrepreneurship, business. Facebook.com/Ryan Michael Ballow, just how it sounds. Ballow is my last name. Check us out on the web at livecortex.com. Powerful products. Cortex right now, $27 for the mighty Cortex Nootropic Stack. All of our digital guides also 20% off. They give you stacks to take. Very, very powerful stacks. Kind of like the stack that we laid out with triacetyluridine and Vinpocetine and the choline source, but much more complex stacks, highly effective stacks that you can take right away to turn on focus, to turn on speed of processing, to turn on mental energy. If you want to light your brain up, get one of those guides, take one of those stacks, and you tell me if you're not functioning like a beast. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. LiveCortex.com for all those products. We'll talk to you next time.